I welcome everybody to the after lunch slot. I hope you're all revived and ready to go. My name is Ms Tina Stevens. I'm Head of English at DERA International School, and with me today is Ms Claire Murray, who is my second in charge, and Ms Fiona Pinkerton, who's one of our excellent teachers. Now, we are all Scottish. There's not just Scottish teachers at DERA. It just so happens that there's the three that you have with you today. And what I'd like to talk about today is how we introduced into our Year 7, oh, I forgot to, sorry girls, mistake already. We also have with us 4 of our fabulous Year 7s who are going to do most of the talking today, okay? So they're here at the front. What I'd like to talk to you about today is how we introduced what we call our extended literacy curriculum into our Year 7 English curriculum, and the way that that worked, and how practically we decided to plan it and why we decided to do it. Okay. We were lucky enough in Year 7 to have an extra period of English. So instead of 4 periods, as we have with the other year groups, we managed to timetable 5. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to think about the best use of this extra period of English. Now, before my arrival, there had been various things tried. There was reading at one point. It was simply another period of English. And these were all working fairly well. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring together lots of different ideas to give the pupils a different experience of being in English, and to talk and to help them learn about extended literacy. That literacy is not just about what you read in a book, that it's all around us, and it's skills that they can learn doing all sorts of different things. One of the reason the idea came to me was because in Scotland we actually had a focus on literacy as a separate subject. So in Scotland you teach English, but you also teach literacy, and again the skills were very, very different. So coming to Dubai with all of those ideas and working with my department, we came up with our extended literacy programme. A couple of the things that we found was, because we were not focusing on academic English as such, that this has worked very, very well across the board, including with our lower ability and our EEL students as well. And also, one of the things that the KDHA were very keen on, and inspectors at home, was the idea of lessons that were led by students. You know, lessons that were challenging for the students, that they came up with the criteria and they worked independently. And that was also one of the things that we wanted to factor in to this. It has become so successful in English that actually what's happening now is, when it's planned for next year's curriculum, other subjects are going to get involved, and it's actually going to become a cross-curricular literacy programme. So it's actually the first step in a much wider literacy scope for our school. So what I'm going to do now, that's my intro. I'm going to hand over to Claire, and she's going to talk about the nitty-gritty of how we actually planned our extended literacy, so that if you're interested in this, you get some idea of the sorts of things you need to think about in order to start to run your own.
Okay, so in planning for this programme, it was obviously very important that we were guaranteed that extra period of English. As it was already something that was in the timetable, as Ms Stevens said, that was easily done. So we have basically the case that every Thursday, period 4, our students don't have English in inverted commas, they have extended literacy. That works quite well. They're actually calling it extended literacy as opposed to English on that Thursday, period 4. So they've moved to the teacher that they've been allocated for that particular week, that particular session. I worked out that we had about 34 available teaching weeks in the year if we topped and tailed with an introductory and concluding session. And with 6 groups of students, 6 classes, I was able to plan 5 rotations of 7 weeks each. I didn't want to, I could have had them all have 6 rotations of the 7 rotations of the, or 6 rotations of the 6 programmes, but they would have had a much shorter space of time to do it. 7 weeks was really only 7 periods of 55 minutes, so there had to be enough time in the programme for them to get through something substantial. It perhaps seems quite complicated, but I have actually printed out my schedule of it. It's quite detailed, and something that I passed around the whole department in the planning stages. So if anybody's really interested in how our programme works, feel free to steal. I'll have copies of this at the front of the room for you as well. We obviously included our ELL students who at the moment get taught in a slightly different setup to the mainstream English classes. It was really important to us that for this extended literacy programme that they were incorporated into this. So they were experiencing teachers who wouldn't normally have taught them, as well as the skills that rightly so they would be learning as well. In planning the sessions, you can see that I've got an extended literacy wheel with different activities that the students would move around after every 7 weeks. And I passed that responsibility to what was in those different sessions over to members of staff in the department, because it was really important that what interests the teachers had, what skills those teachers had, were used effectively. The focus, of course, is not on testing, it's not on assessment. At the end of each focus area, there's no, okay, this is the grade you got for this particular rotation. It was for experience, enjoyment and development of skills only. So that gave the teachers some freedom, and also gave the children the chance to have a bit more enjoyment in their learning as well. And that's the feedback that I've received, that the students and the teachers have got a renewed energy and enjoyment in English, albeit the extended literacy, extended English. To give you an idea of the programmes, we've got Earth Patrol, Finding Film, Wonder Words, Advertising Appetites, The Great Reading Run, and Our Literary World. So my colleague, Miss Harrison, focused on Earth Patrol, and she looked at persuasion and presentation skills. It's a very collaborative 7 lessons, tapping into quite social and emotional aspects of learning, with teamwork and individual learning put up there as the main skills. They had to research their own topic about the environment and consider how they would persuade humans, because they were aliens, they had to persuade humans to look after the environment. And I think, have you done that session, girls? Not yet. Well, it's something to look forward to. That particular session is working really, really well.
We actually persuaded our principal to come to the session dressed as an alien, which the students absolutely loved. And he every 7 weeks he turns up covered in tin foil, and does his speech to the students about how they must save the planet. So they really look forward to that. Yeah.
Don't tell the rest of your class, but yeah, that's what happens. Okay. Very much this idea that the teacher is moving away from a text-based approach to what is persuasive language. So I don't think she'd even looked at newspaper articles or anything like that. But she was very much using it from the point of view of what are the kids interested in? Well, they're interested in the environment. It's a very topical issue in Dubai with recycling and so on. So that was where she took it as a starting point. Miss Conway focused on Wonder Words, which was all about poetry and performance poetry. Now obviously that you might think, oh, that's quite an English topic. But she put it in from the angle of performance and appreciation and enjoyment of poetry. There was a bit of analysis in there. The kids learned about similes and metaphors and so on. But the focus was on how would you look at language, how would you look at tone and in the delivery of that rather than in the analysis. And I think certainly for that teacher, she feels that she's a different character there. She's not a regular English teacher. She's Miss Conway, but on Thursday period 4, she's Miss C, and she's a Wonder Word teacher. And I think we still have 4 lessons a week of English, as the other year groups have in our particular school. So this was based on our senior management team allowing us in our timetabling to have that extra period, which is unique to year 7. So that would be something that I would suggest that if you're looking to do that's a conversation that is had. I don't think we could do this programme as effectively if we used one of the 4 periods that we currently have for this. If we only had 3 English periods and an extended literacy period for the 4th, I think that we would struggle to maintain that, focus on English in those periods. So that's why it's very much seen as a bonus, this particular setup. I think it's important that you look at the skills of your teachers for this. We have one, Mr. Fuller in our department, he was really interested in film, and he said quite quickly, I'd like to do something with film with the students. And it's not that we don't do film in our regular English lessons, it does feature from time to time, but that gives the children the opportunity to have a look at the appreciation of film, why film works, why film is interesting to us, rather than just books and so on. I think you were really keen on the advertising element of it, so that's why you asked about to do something like that, and so on. So that's something that needed to be considered. Do any of the teachers need training? Not something that we felt that we needed to do this year, but if you have individuals in your department, the English department, that don't feel confident to do what's going on there. So that's the way that we see it progressing. We did it within our English department this year as a trial run, but it would be really nice if moving forwards, timetabling wise, we had other subject specialists looking at why literacy is important and why we should all be literacy practitioners.
Yeah.
Any questions for us? I know we're kind of a bit shorter in the last session than you might have been, but I'm sure that's not a problem the last thing in the day. We've already had a couple of really good questions about how we run it. Yeah.
I'm also from Scotland.
Hi.
What you were saying at the beginning about Scotland having
A move to
I was
literacy.
at one of the very first professional development training sessions in Scotland, where an academic stood up to give the session, and she stressed that none of the English teachers should be driving, and that every teacher is a
I remember.
teacher of literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to us, go back to your schools and insist that you don't lead it, you be involved, that other teachers lead it. So I'm really interested in what you're saying about
Yeah. About involving other. Yes.
developing cross-curricular links and other
Yeah.
subject areas.
Yeah.
to it.
No. Yeah. Yes.
At the school I came from, we did had a big literacy drive. We did the very same thing with the Year 7s, the equivalent in Scotland. It was a devoted literacy period every week.
Yeah.
We took it out the English classroom and ran it in the library so that
It wasn't.
taken away from that.
Yeah.
And we had a big spread. I don't know if you ever saw it in the Test Scotland at the time.
Yeah.
The Test came in and looked at this, and we had like history teachers teaching the whaling and teaching all the
Yeah.
historic with science. Geographers came in, and it was a really good way of building links. So I think people should be encouraged to involve
Yeah. Definitely.
other members of other teams.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was a big push, and it still is a big push in Scotland. I think one of the things is perhaps some teachers feel quite reluctant because they're not sure. They're not sure. So I think the thing with us is we're finding a lot of interest from other departments in our school now because we started it. We've got the rotations going. You know, we've got the planning is all there. They understand what we're doing, and so they feel more confident now that actually they could step into that hour, you know, those 7 periods a week and do something a little bit different because they understand what we're trying to achieve. I think when we first mooted the idea a year ago, there was some, you know, just some reluctance simply because they weren't sure how it was going to work. But certainly it's working very, very well, and we have a lot of interest from different departments now. So what we're trying to do is sit with our timetabler to try and timetable teachers into these, you know, into that whatever period it will be next year, into that period, so that it's not just, so that we can have it, so it's not just English specialists who are free at that time. Because one of the other ideas we talked about was to have 2 or 3 teachers in the room, so you're talking about the science of serial, but you're also talking about persuasive words. Okay, well, let's have a science teacher and an English teacher, you know, and it helps the students to build the links between things. So yes, so we're hoping it's, but even this year, even as I say within the English department, it's worked very, very well, and the students have really embraced it. They know it's a different type of period. They're on, you know, they love the rotational element, meeting lots of different teachers, and they really enjoy the type of work that they're doing.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Something very similar to this happening in our school.
But
To add to this, we have the Go Green.
right.
It's like a campaign we're having for 3rd term. 2nd term we had eating healthy. First term we had reuse, reduce, and recycle. So this was a cross-curricular also. So this is something also, what you said is very important. And what we're doing with our students now, just like you said, we're allotting 1 lesson per week. But the grade 12s and the grade 11s are making a book. The challenge is that it should be for KG students. So you need to teach them about the environment, but the challenge is you can't use any words that are difficult.
That's a great idea.
So this is a very good challenge, and they can use 3Ds, videos, short stories,
Yeah.
and the book, the real book itself. So
Yeah.
this is something perhaps.
Yeah.
Really like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, and one of the things as well with having the students lead is that there's been a lot more of a lot more use of those types of technologies, because they're much more willing to make a film, you know, or to do a jingle, do a song, have an MP3, and so it's actually really good for the teachers as well, because we are, you know, all the time we're working with them to help them achieve these things, which aren't necessarily in our English remit.
Yeah, but we're seeing that transfer into the regular English classes, aren't we? As well?
Yeah.
My students last week were saying, oh, I was saying about doing an essay, and like somebody said, can I do this? Can I do like a blog type thing? Can I do it? Why not?
Yeah.
As long as this kind of still using the same assessment focuses, there was no harm in doing that.
I remember last year I had grade 10. Usually I have only 11 and 12. So that I prepared them to write a full newsletter. So each person can pass it on to whoever he feels like to write about sports. The person is interested in sports, the other one is interested in what's happening in the school. And then one for jokes, you know, whoever is funny in the class. So the newsletter was prepared by the students collaboratively. So I think this can work.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, at the back, thank you.
We get very good response when we give project-based learning to
Uh-huh.
girls. And when it comes to boys, they're very keen, but they're not very responsible in submitting assignments.
Mhm.
Do you face this problem, and how do you deal with this problem?
Um,
Type of assignment.
Yeah, and there's different things that we do. I mean, we do try to let the students work in their own groups, but some teachers have actually placed groups, so we have a mix of boys and girls because they have different skills, and so that can work. Also, you need to find the interest of the hook for the boys. For example, in the environmental one, we tell the students, you're not Earth, you're the aliens. And the boys love that. They're designing, I'm this alien with the ears, and so they really kind of tie into that idea. So I think you just have to find the thing that's going to hook them in, and also sometimes include a few girls to keep them on the right track. Yeah.
For advertising appetites as well, what we did was give them a target market. So for example, the girls, obviously their nice pink cereal box was aimed at girls, and the boys who were doing it did like pirates and made a sort of treasure box, and that was aimed at boys their own age. Also, I think as well, if you make things slightly competitive, like this was a kind of the apprentice type thing, like who could win. And I think if you make things slightly competitive, boys are, get more interested as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think yes, yeah. So we do have a kind of a breakdown of how we structured it, how we set it all out, practicalities if you're interested in taking this back to your school. And also we can leave email addresses for anybody who'd like a little bit more information, or would like to communicate with us a bit more about what we're doing. Okay, thank you.